To borrow from Malcolm Gladwell's famous book, Tipping Point, I think we're going through a massive number of major tipping points right now, and I could sum it up by saying that we're going through the biggest change since the Industrial Revolution. A couple of reasons. One is that the entire world economy is shifting, the balance to new emerging economies, China, India, Brazil, maybe Southeast Asia, which will shift the balance of economic power internationally. Secondly, we are seeing a technological shift. We're now moving into the age, as I call it, of the digital native, where we will, because of modern technologies, connected technologies, be able to work more or less wherever we want. Traditionally, for many millennia, generations, people had to work on farms and they had to work where the land was. When industrialization came along, they had to work where the iron ore was, where the coal was, where the water power was. All that's been swept away. Modern connected technologies mean that we can work wherever we want as long as we're in touch, connected to colleagues and clients. And a recent report that I was involved in, commissioned by Orange, pointed out that only 4% of people working in this country actually work where they do because of choice, like family or friends or other amenities. Only 4%. 96% of people who work in offices in this country work there because they have to. The traditional industrial model, which runs in the service sector as well still, I'm afraid, is an old pyramid, command and control. People at the top tell the people lower down what to do. Companies in the future generally won't be able to work like that. The people at the top will have to earn the respect and the right to manage the ones below them, and decisions will be taken more by collegiate agreement, consensus and discussion, rather than simply orders from the top. It's a military model, the old industrial model. We need to work towards much more of an open, skills-based, talent-based model where we're all in it together. I reckon that by 2020, the working geography of Britain will be totally different from what it is today. Companies will be smaller, people will work increasingly wherever they wish to because of connected technologies. And I would say that the forward-looking company of 2020 will probably have no headquarters building, probably have no CEO. They'll work through collegiate management. They'll probably own no IT. Well, most of them don't today because you rent it or outsource it. And their fixed assets will only be a fraction what they are today. Companies will be much smaller and they'll be working much more on a networked basis, what we call the pancake, instead of the old pyramid, from pyramid to pancake. Let me put it another way around. The best way to describe the digital future is of a gigantic worldwide conversation in which size doesn't matter anymore, and in which we'll have to redefine the whole definition of what a company is. An individual will be as important as a big company in 10 and 20 years ahead, because their importance will be the value they can bring to a particular task. So the future is not about size, not about scale. The future is size neutral. And so small and medium-sized enterprises will increasingly become made up of independent workers. They'll be increasingly working what I call a task-based model. In other words, they'll be bringing in skills to get a particular job done. When that job is done, they'll move on to other things, and those freelancers or e-workers will go on to other projects as well, other tasks. And I think that increasingly will become the case. Also, companies in the future will be much more collaborative. They'll work with each other rather than competing with each other as they have in the past. So that also encourages this move towards more of a sort of networked business marketplace, if you like, and that marketplace is the marketplace for skills. The glue that holds the company together when they're dispersed and networked will be trust. And so the freelancer of the future will have to understand that his or her value is based on the level of trust that they can generate with the people they work for. So this trust-based model is really something we've got to get used to. Now and in the future, we will increasingly need to rely on our own individual talents, and our talents as they fit into task teams or other teams and whatever. So the biggest issue that a lot of freelancers will face is their own personal branding. You know, who are they? What do they do? What do they bring to the party? We know if we pick up a bottle of Coca-Cola, we know what it's going to taste like. We know if we buy from Microsoft that it's going to do this job or that job. That's what a brand does for you. With individuals, though, and they are the future individuals, we have to develop the notion of personal branding. And that is a kind of exercise that we all need to go through. And I think a lot of the time, people who work for themselves don't really see themselves as a brand. In the future, they will have to. The biggest single skill a good futurist has, in my view, is not actually thinking about the future, but having a pretty serious grasp about today, because the future is embedded in today. And so when we talk about connected Britain, and the future of the freelancer in the networked economy of tomorrow, that's already happening. That's embedded right now. We have the technologies right now. We have the mindset up to a point right now. It is happening. It's happening under our very noses. And so we don't have to look very far. Have a sound reality check, if you like, on today, and you'll get the images of the future that you really need.